Wow, I think this is the first time I'm actually doing one of these in my new car. Oh, it's been a while since I've done one of these videos. Oh, I retired them because I never had the time to just actually sit down and talk about them. I normally just go with, like, my sister or somebody to see these flicks. Yeah, welcome to my new car. It's nice. It's compact. Not really itty-bitty space, but got a big trunk. Very good trunk. Stuffs many groceries. Yeah, that was an awful joke. This is why I'm here. To tell you about this movie. Before I do, some quick housekeeping updates I gotta mention. If you do not know, my Vimeo page is gone. It is no more. It's deceased. It's run down the curtain and met the choir. God me its maker. You get the bit. So for the time being, you can see a good majority of my videos on BitChute.com. I think it's like BitChute.com/profile/moviesfl90, or you can just go to the Facebook group page that I just made, the official Vaulting Fan Club, I think it's called, or fan page or something like that. I'll probably put links down below just so you're not lost or anything. It's just a way to keep you guys updated on where I am and such. Next episode is coming out next month. It's a Patreon request. It's going to be a very interesting one. It's a fantasy movie from the 80s. I'm ecstatic as you are. Yeah, just telling you that so you're kept in the loop, because it really sucks when my channels go and you have nothing to know where I'm at. Oh yeah, there's also my Twitter, which is @MovieBuffMel90. You can just find me there. So yeah, let's talk about Disney's Aladdin. How ironic, because I'm wearing a blue shirt. Man, damn it, I just realized I should have brought my fez. It would have been perfect. I would have had a fez on and had like a little genie bit. It would have been perfect. Yeah, I'll probably wear it later today when I meet up with the mutant groups. So I'm gonna be really frank. I was a little fearsome when going into this movie. I wasn't sure if it was gonna be good or bad. I heard many things. I heard positive things, I've heard negative things, I've heard polarizing things. And then I started thinking back to, wait a minute, there's other Aladdin adaptations out there as well. This is not just the quintessential one. Especially considering how this was a story that was tossed into the 1001 Arabian Nights, and from there it just got adapted into many things. Obviously people are going to associate the Disney version, the 1992 animated movie with Robin Williams, because it's so embedded in the pop culture. When people hear the word Aladdin, they think, oh yeah, the movie with the wisecracking genie that breaks the fourth wall and does all the cartoon impersonations. And I revisited that one last night recently, and it's big shock. It still holds up! There's emotion, there's weight, there's energy, you can feel the passion. These characters want to be free of their mundane lives in the worst way, and you have the villain who also wants freedom, but in a different kind of way, more of an abusive power sort of way, and that's very cleverly set up. Even watching it again, I didn't realize that. It's like, wow, I didn't think Jafar really wanted freedom that way. Just the fact that it's like, wow, I can do so much. I want to take over the goddamn world! Hear me out. The animated Disney Aladdin was not really my favorite Disney movie, but I quintessentially say it's a perfect crowd pleaser. It has everything you want. Good music, good humor, definitely a pretty decent story, maybe one or two flaws here and there. I know it's a controversial film for the depiction of Arabic characters, but it's like, it's fine. It has a good message to it. It has a nice, juicy heart center. You have to be a true a-hole just to hate that film. And I don't. I think it still holds up to the test of time. And even then, there's other adaptations out there you can look to. There's the fairy tale theater version Shelley Duvall did with James Earl Jones as the genies. In the original tale, there was two. There was a ring genie and a lamp genie. They also have Leonard Nimoy's The Evil Vizier. And it's directed by Tim Burton. I swear, watch that episode, it's really good. Okay, it's dated, it's made in the 80s, it's cheaply made and it shows, but it's still a lot of fun, especially James Earl Jones, who's designed like this weird Beetlejuicean kind of genie with bat wings on his head. Look it up, please! It's actually pretty entertaining for its cheesiness. And the one I can think of that's like the closest adaptation of the actual source is the Arabian Nights TV movie in like the early 2000s. It was directed by Steve Barron, who did a lot of music videos like MJ's Beat It. No, not Beat It. Billie Jean. Billie Jean. I always keep this mixing up. He did music videos. He also did Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, episodes of Jim Henson's The Storyteller. It always keeps coming back to Jim Henson. Why? And, of course, one of my favorite cult classics, Coneheads. And in that one, they had Jason Scott Lee as Aladdin. It's obviously was trying to be a little more close to the source, because the original story was set in a Chinese town, because China's near the trade route, so I can kind of see that working into the Arabian Nights ordeal. If I remember correctly, John Leguizamo was the genies. Again, sticking true to the source, Ring Genie, Lamp Genie. And oddly enough, Leguizamo is no Robin Williams, but watching it again, he really tries. There's actually moments where he actually gets pretty funny. There's a bit where he's told to show off the ring, and he has like a little nipple ring, and he opens it up, and he pulls out a wrench, and he starts using it to turn off the rain. And then later on, when Aladdin the Jason Scott Lee Aladdin, when he mentions about what to wish for, he suggests the idea of a flying machine. And John Leguizamo Genie is all like, flying machine? You mean the kinds where people sit all day around the world and they're served popcorns and peanuts and all sorts of snacks and watch moving images as though too far-fetched? Let's stick with the basic wishes. Forget the flying machine. Like, okay, that's still pretty. That's cute. I actually recommend looking that up. It's probably on YouTube somewhere. As stated, it's part of the mini-series thing, so you get more for your buck. So yeah, there's other Aladdin adaptations out there, and having that in mind, going into this one and knowing exactly what it was going to do, I expected it to be a little more closer to the animated version, and that's kind of what they did. It wasn't like the Beauty and the Beast one they did, was it a year or 2 years ago? It feels like it's been for... Yeah, 2 years ago, where they had some elements of the fairy tale in there, like the father stealing the rose, which was in the original tale. It's certain that you're not going to get an actual adaptation, because they got to change things and bloat things up for running time, so they're going to throw this in, throw that in, just so it turns into a story that goes from point A to point B. And... okay, if you just want the straight answer, it doesn't overpower the footprint that the animated version left. There's no way it's going to. That's the important thing. The way I see this adaptation, and I say adaptation because it's an adaptation of the animated version, and to a lesser extent, the tale. Well, fairy tales these days are in public domain, or unless they're, like, written by Peter S. Beagle, so go figure. Here I am, I'm becoming a better genie. Where was I? Maybe I should have said J.K. Rowling, that would have been a little funnier. People would have gotten that joke. Anywho, this particular adaptation, I saw it sort of in the same way I feel about the 1996 101 Dalmatians movie with Glenn Close as Cruella de Vil. It's not going to be a direct adaptation of the original animated version. It's going to just take the base of it and say, okay, let's change this around, let's change that around, keep this similar, keep that similar, just add this in, add up there, punch this up, punch that up, and just make something of it. That's how I view this movie. It's quintessentially just taking this skeleton and saying, alright, this is well known, so we got to keep that. They know this a little too well, so it's changed up a bit. And some of the stuff they do alter, I didn't mind too much, up until a certain point near the end. But I'll try to be light on the spoilers. I promise. Because this is actually not that bad as I thought it was going to be. It's not the worst of the Disney live-action remakes, adaptations, reboots, what have you. We've only come so far in this day and age to actually even consider this is what it's pretty much come to. It's just taking these familiar tales and just revamping them. And in the past, Walt Disney Pictures has been known to reissue animated movies back in the theaters. And then home video happened, and that stopped it. Well, not really. They just kept dwindling down on reissues, which is a shame, because I'd love to see the original Aladdin back on the big screen. They were going to do an IMAX reissue, but I don't know why that stopped. I think it was because they were getting less grosses with each one. I think that started with Beauty and the Beast, and then it was Lion King, and I can't remember what came after that. Bottom line, it seems like this is the way to go, just retelling these stories. We're reissuing these movies, but we're doing it different as a gimmick, so you come in, see this version we made. Because the animated version exists on the shelf. You can rent it at the library, you can download it, so we're gonna make this new version for you to look at. So at the best, you can have the best of both worlds in a bizarre way, so we get our money because reissuing a movie, but in a different form. It's not a Malibu Stacy with a hat, it's a Malibu Stacy made out of Twinkies that you can eat and hopefully enjoy. If that makes any sense. But if you just want the bottom line, it's fine. It's serviceable. It's not cringeworthy. If you're expecting it to be like a really direct adaptation of the animated version, there's some moments that are direct, and there's some moments they do downplay it, and there are moments where it's kind of like, okay, well that's a little bit better. You get to see a little more of Aladdin Jasmine. That's kind of nice, especially when he's as Prince Ali. There's a really good dinner sequence where the genie's kind of manipulating him as this little puppet and stuff just to impress the princess, which is actually pretty neat. I just wish there was more moments like that. Just more moments. But with all due respect, the performances, for the most part, I can't remember the guy's name who they got to do Aladdin. He was good. He's almost close to the original, just delivery-wise. He has some slickness to him, some charm. He's a little bit smooth. He's really close to the original Aladdin from the animated one. He's a thief, but at the same time, he's a kind guy at heart. He's just stuck in this whole thing. Naomi Scott as Jasmine. With all due respect, I thought she was great. They do change things up a bit, trying to make her realize exactly her political position and the power she has, and that she has the ability to live her life with the cage door open and actually use her position to do good. We have a moment where, like, Jafar is trying to get the Sultan with the hypnotism stick. Okay, his staff. I'm not going to be that kind of guy. To, like, you know, use the power to invade and stuff like that, and Jasmine's like, wait a minute, something's not right here. It becomes a little bit the Emperor's new clothes, in a sense. So the performances are fine. When Will Smith comes into the picture, real life actually does come into the movie. That was the one thing I was worried about the most among everyone else. I didn't mind the blue digital effects to an extent. I kind of had a feeling it was going to be a little awkward to look at, like this weird figurine they're floating around and stuff. Sometimes he's live action and he's an actual person being there, but when he was CGI'd, it was a little hard to get used to. It took a little while to get adjusted to it. But I thought it wasn't too bad. It was almost nearly on the same level as Mark Ruffalo Hulk in Endgame, where he's like, you know, digitalized and stuff. That creeped me out. Let me tell you, that creeped me out to the end. This was tolerable. It had some rubbery feel to it. Like, again, this plastic Stretch Armstrong just moving around on the screen. So it wasn't too bad. And he was actually not that bad. I mean, you can't top Robin Williams. The performance that he did for that Aladdin, he left such an impression on that movie. The more you think about that movie, you think of him because of how he took that character and made it not this What do you want, master? No, he gave it personality. He gave it character, depth. This person who's given the task that he has to assign wishes, but he has this wish to just escape that mundane prison, just that situation he's in, and the hope that one day that he too will get freed. And when he does get freed, you actually do feel that momentum, like, oh, thank goodness, after 10,000 years. With Will Smith, he does his own variation, and that's fine. He's obviously doing, like, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and that's suitable. That's just fine for what it is. He does break the fourth wall. He does have some pretty funny moments. He actually doesn't sing too bad. When they did Arabian Nights in this weird opening credits montage kind of way, I actually did get goosebumps. I'm not kidding. There actually were moments where I did get, like, little goosebumps when they did that number. It could have been better, but then again, the orchestration beefed it up a little bit, so it's a little more sublime and sinister. Unlike the animated one, where it's like grand and operatic, this one is a little more sublime and just sinister, and I think that adds a little bit of weight, especially to the orchestration. It definitely feels like they're going for this dramatic powerhouse kind of way, but it's not like uplifting and bright. It's more booming and powerful and epic, and that's the direction I'm kind of going with, and because of that, it loses that energy. It loses that that delivery the first film had. To quote Robin Williams, the animated movie is quintessentially a Looney Tunes cartoon in drag, and that's what made it so memorable, because it was quick, it was fire-paced, there was so much going on. Even in certain scenes, like the one jump ahead of the one jump ahead, there's so many comedic gags going on. It's so many times. These little mini jokes, and the bit where the monkey grabs the sword and is like, oh, you fools, we all got swords. That's not in this one. They play it more realistic. They try to keep it grounded. They try to keep the physics, like, possible as they can, minus Aladdin's Legolas-like acrobatics. Okay, it's not as far as Legolas, but it needs to be close. But at least they make it plausible. It's clear they're trying to go for, like, this Indiana Jones Bollywood kind of feel, and honestly, I like Indiana Jones Bollywood kind of stuff, so maybe that's why I'm a little soft on this one, because it does have that grand view to it, this stage show kind of feel. This feels like a stage show that was given money and digital effects. It's not like they're trying to make like a live show where they're half-assing it. It feels like they're trying to do like this grand stage show, but they cut back on so much of the comedy, so much of the lightness. That's where it almost goes into the gray area a little bit for me, because when you try to make it darker and a little more realistic, you lose a little bit of that energy and punch and luster the first one had. And even then, if you're going to go for like this realistic approach, why make the freaking animals CGI? CGI Abu, CGI Raja. I'll give it credit. The expressions on Raja are actually almost close to the animated one. As realistic as it could get. Oh yeah, let's talk about Iago. He's a parrot. He's voiced by Alan Tudyk, and he's performed as a parrot. He's not this parrot posing as a parrot who's really Gilbert Godfrey, acting like he's a ticked-off grumpy who got a vasectomy. No, it's just a parrot that's subtly, like, hinting in on certain words and stuff. Like, when someone makes a bad decision, like, ah, bad choice, bad choice. It did get a couple of laughs, but I thought, oh, come on, that's what made the character so fun in the original, because he was more than just a bird. He was this bird posing as a bird. That's what made it so funny. Gilbert took that idea and just this angry, grumpy bird that's so tired of being second-rate. I miss that. Instead, he's this pet that's just on Jafar's side, like, ah, you're number one, you're number one, you're the god, you're the god. Oh my god, and speaking of which, let's talk about Jafar. Oh my goodness, this is the one nail that killed it for me. Not Aladdin. Because the guy who's doing Aladdin is doing a really good job. He's charming. When there's moments where he's getting all, dorky and nervous, and trying to talk to Jasmine, it's believable. When Jasmine is trying to see right through Aladdin's, guise, and trying to understand exactly who she is within the royal line and what she can do, it's great. When Will Smith is the genie and he's being cartoony and fun, but at the same time being this Arabian version of Hitch, it works. It really does work. Those are the parts I thought that stood out. The Sultan, he's not a goofus buffoon. He's this really wise person that's just under the control of this evil vizier. I actually felt bad for the Sultan. They do a really good job with the Sultan in this version. The one thing that completely cracks the entire movie for me, and I'm not saying this as a huge flaw, but for me, it's a personal thing that whoever they got to play Jafar, oh my goodness, no, nay, never, I say thee nay. Jafar is sinister. Jafar is really like this whispering little thing in your head that says, do the evil thing, do the evil thing. No, it's like, do it, do the evil thing. He's like very coaxing. He's like Jonathan Harris as Dr. Smith, but he's not as goofy and over the top. He's like really like, oh yes, my boy, go for it very well, just really grimy and slimy and trying to get into your head. And whoever they got to play Jafar, oh, the lines he delivers are so cold turkey. They're delivered in such a cold manner that it just sounds so apathetic. When he's revealing Aladdin, oh, spoiler, unless you've seen the animated one, when he's revealing Aladdin to be who he really is, he says it so nonchalant, like, yes, this is a prince all along, this street rat, and I'm gonna send him to the ends of the earth. You're playing a villain. Have fun. Really have fun. Will Smith is giving it his 110%. Oh my goodness. The one thing I didn't think would almost kill this movie, it's the villain. Your movie is only as good as your villain. And the way they write Jafar, it's so perfect. I can see Rami Malek doing this so deliciously. But no. Oh, why this guy? He's probably a nice person. He's probably done some movies he's done that I don't know about. Give it credit for Disney. They're doing an actual cultural version of this film. The one thing that almost killed me was who they got to do Jafar. Woo! Yeah, he just waves the staff around, and he's just like saying all this stuff in a very cold manner. The only time he was kind of interesting is when they mentioned this little bit that he used to be a thief. Okay, that kind of does add a little bit, but doesn't explain how he became a sorcerer. You did have one funny line. Steal an apple and you're a thief. Steal a kingdom and you're a statesman. Okay, that was funny. That was actually funny. I don't know if it was the weird delivery he gave, but at least that joke was funny. The musical numbers, they're kind of on point. Friend Like Me, while it's doing its own thing, it blew me away in the way it choreographs itself. It's not copying too much of what the cartoon did. It's doing its own thing. There's these different set pieces, these different dance bits. They're trying to do it all in one take. That was good. One Jump Ahead, that one was so-so. Some of the action points were kind of unique, but I felt it should have had a little more punch and a little more humor. Some of the stunts were pretty cool. When they slowed down the camera, it was kind of half and half. Prince Ali, I felt like they were doing a stage show version. Again, going back to the animated one, there's so much energy, there's so much comedic punch, and it doesn't feel like there's enough comedic punch. Because there's so much going on in that scene, but it's a more realistic version, so we can't have these over-the-top moments, which is kind of a bummer. So we pretty much get like this slow Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade march to the palace, which is not very enthusiastic. Whole New World, they just fly around Baghdad and a little lake and just go back, and it's like, oh, come on, in the original you went around the world. there's a little bit where, like, she's like, I can't find Ababa on the map here, and, you know, Aladdin's all like, oh, you know, there's more to the world than just this. Why don't you have them fly around the world, like in the animated version? That would've been great. To show that there's more than just this one little place. It's everywhere. The Prince Ali reprise, nope, that got nixed. I guess Jafar can't sing. Oh well! Jasmine has a new song, I think it's called, Speechless. Her, you know, wanting to speak up and actually, you know, I will not be silent, that's like her Let It Go moment. It's a good number, but I think where they had it in the movie, it just stops it. I'm not going to give too much away, but it's almost near the climax. I felt it would have been a little more powerful if maybe it was a little earlier in the movie. I think it would have had a little more weight to it to know exactly who Jasmine's character is. But at that particular moment when it happens, if you just cut it out and maybe have like a small, like little instrumental, I think that would have been a little stronger. But that's just me. And speaking of which, the climax. Remember the climax where it was really intense and Jafar turned into this giant snake and you had Jasmine in the hourglass and everyone being turned into certain things and there was all this intensity to it? That does not happen. It feels like it's building to something and then it just goes... Like, it starts off fun. I mean, you have Aladdin and Jasmine being chased down by an Iago. It's in the trailer, so I can kind of give a little bit of this away. You have Aladdin and Jasmine being chased down by this Iago version of the giant claw. That's what it is. It's just Jasmine and Aladdin flying away from the giant claw. And it just crashes into stuff or whatever. And it's just this little cat and mouse, like the lamp and stuff. And then it goes into like the bit with Jafar going into his final wish and stuff. And it doesn't feel as epic as it was in the first one. Again, I know they're trying to scale back and bring it to reality, bring it to Earth. But in doing so, you lose a lot of punch. You lose a lot of energy and spectacle. And that's the key word here, spectacle. There is spectacle in this film, but it feels like stage show spectacle. It's not like... I feel like it needed to go a little further than what it did here. But from what I saw, I didn't hate it. I don't think it's the best of the year. But for what it is, it's fine. It's watchable. Maybe CGI Will Smith might cringe a couple of things, but I didn't think it was that bad. It's a good date night movie, I'll give it that much. Really, I recommend it as actually a date night movie. If you have a girlfriend or a boyfriend or a husband or a spouse, take them to this. It's actually a perfect romantic comedy. There's like little moments and banter that are actually pretty good. They're actually straight from a romantic comedy. Like when Aladdin's trying to impress Jasmine when he becomes the prince and stuff like that. And yeah, they kind of do change things around. They give an excuse for Aladdin to sneak into the palace. But it's like, okay, I can kind of see why they did that. Just so he could, you know, meet up with Jasmine and have, like, the little misunderstanding and stuff. You know, the misunderstanding, which comes in the finale, but they push it earlier. The whole message about, you know, false images and how we should just be ourselves. Again, that's a message direct from the original. I can live with that. It wasn't the worst, wasn't the best, but for what it was, I'm glad I saw it. There is good stuff in this movie. I weirdly recommend it, but again, if you're really, really a purist about the original, you're going to have a really biased opinion on this. I'm not a huge fan of the first movie. I like it for what it is. I went in expecting this to be like, well, it could be good, it could be bad, and I had really low expectations, and for what it was, I was still entertained. I'll give it this much, it's better than some of the live-action films they've done lately, but, man, it needed a little more drive. Guy Ritchie directed this film. He did Lock, Stock, and Barrel, Snatch, the 2 Sherlock Holmes movies, and usually he's, like, really good with, like, over-the-top angles and stuff like that, and just, like, heist movies. That's what this should have been. It should have been a heist style kind of film, like The Sting. I'm trying to think of it. Yeah, there are some moments where it does feel... No. It feels like a scaled-back Sting. No, it doesn't work. Because in a heist movie, they do, like, over-the-top plans and stuff, and they have, like, little people that pawn out. Here, they just give people story arcs that pay off in one way or another. On today's show of Oprah, you get a story arc! Genie gets a story arc, Aladdin gets a story arc, Jasmine gets a story arc, the Sultan gets a story arc, the Monkey gets a story arc, the Carpet gets a story arc, the new Handmaiden movie, that gets a story arc! You're all getting story arcs! Yeah, that's what this is. I don't think Guy Ritchie left a big impression on this. I feel like he really needed to just drive this a little more. I don't know what it was. Maybe it was a studio thing. But again, I wasn't disappointed. I thought it was fine. I don't think it's the worst for what it is. I don't think it deserves all the negativity that some critics are giving it. It was fun, and that's why I go to the movies. To escape, have fun. But do I agree with this trend we're having from Disney lately? No. I don't think we need to go back and redo what was already, you know, A-plus material. Now, if it was a movie like The Black Cauldron, or The Black Hole, or The Devil Max Devlin, then we're talking gold. I would love to see new versions of those movies in today's world, and how they would work. No, not Return to Oz, because Return to Oz was a masterpiece. I mean, something like... What's it? The Last Flight of Noah's Ark. I'd love to see them try and do that. Just like... or if you really want to be that desperate, The Adventures of Merlin Jones. It's a kid that's in college that invents all these crazy machines and stuff. That was successful enough to have a sequel called The Monkey's Uncle. Or if you want to be that more desperate, remake Condor Man. We're in a superhero age anyway, so why not? I would love to see that happen. We don't need live-action retreads. The originals are fine. That's the problem. We think that taking the stories that have been told before and doing it again, but changing things up a little, is the way to go, and it's not. And I'm not trying to sound like a cynical person. I'm not trying to say, like, this is the way that Hollywood's thinking, but in a way, I fear that it is. I fear that that's what it is. Or if you just want to do a new take, just take the skeleton of the movie and do something different. Make the movie about the genie. Or just have, like, another Arabian Night adaptation. There's, like, 1,000 of them. I'd love to see, like, you know, maybe a Disney version of Ali Baba and the 40 Thieves. Or the one about the hunchback Buck. There's just so much source material to go with, and they're not getting the point. But, like I said, if you just want a fun movie, this is fine. I wouldn't mind seeing it again, honestly. I think my mother would actually kind of like this. Yeah, that's all I got to say. Not good, not bad. It's popcorn flick. That's what it is. So, take those 2 cents what they are, and, well, until next time, see you on the next upload.